What's up, guys? It's your girl Kia, and I'm back for another video. It's been a while since I've actually posted a video, and that is because nothing has really moved me enough to talk about, but we definitely have to talk about Nicki Minaj. If you are not aware, Nicki Minaj joined Erika Kirk at the AMFest. It's a festival, it's a conference that Turning Point USA puts on. The whole interview actually was just posted maybe 2 hours ago, where Nicki Minaj is talking about her views, how much she loves JD Vance, how much she loves Trump, and so on and so forth. And I feel like it's time to have a conversation because I am once again annoyed as a Black Republican female where we have another misinformed Black woman who is out there speaking about things she has no idea about and being put on this pedestal as a Black woman who is going to change the minds and hearts of Black Democrats and Black liberals when that is not the case. The really disturbing part is that a lot of the conservatives who are sitting in this audience and who, even on Twitter, who may not have been there, who are now praising that they have a big celebrity, have no idea that in the Black community that we have been concerned about Nicki Minaj's mental health since I want to say the last 6 or 7 months, since maybe a couple months before Cardi B's album dropped. She started making weird comments. She was making really interesting posts on social media. She said there was an album coming, and the album didn't come. Then Cardi dropped her album, and then all hell broke loose. And when I mean all hell broke loose, I'm not being, hyperbolic or anything like that. She really did start saying horrible, awful things. One of the crazy things that she said is that she started talking about culture. For those who don't know, Culture is Cardi B's daughter. She actually posted on Twitter, "Dear Culture Vulture, your mom is pregnant with another monkey to add to her litter. The gag is that she was jealous of a little boy, baby boy, simply because his hair was longer than all four of you ball monkeys put together." She tweeted that to a child. So that is when a lot of us started to realize something is mentally not all there for you to be talking to a child when you have a beef with another rapper. So again, before people think that this video is all about, oh, you're just saying that now because she's conservative and da 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 da, and because she's no, I'm saying this now because she's representing something that she one doesn't know a whole lot about, and that there is mental instability here. It's really interesting that, people like Donald Trump and people like Turning Point USA and a lot of ultra conservatives are just like, elitists are bad, elitists are bad. We don't want any elitists. We want everyday Americans. But then they're dying for super rich and famous, powerful people to be on their side, literal elitists. They were super excited when Musk jumped onto their bandwagon. Why? Because he's ultra rich, white guy, powerful. He's an elitist, but they were proud he was on their side. The same thing now with Nicki Minaj. The same thing with Zachary Levi, the actor. When all these super famous people jump onto the conservative side, now they're no longer elitist, powerful people. They're everyday Americans who understand it. And that's really annoying and frustrating to me because they're still rich and powerful people. I mean, Nicki Minaj has been rich, I want to say, since she was 19 or 20, since she began. She's been rapping for a long time, and she is a very talented rapper. No one can ever take that away from her. She's a talented rapper. But she has seen less popularity in the last 2 years, not so much because of her online antics. She just hasn't really grabbed, her new fans coming in or her old fans the way she used to. That could be because of the industry. She's having issues with Rock. She's having issues with Rock Nation. She made multiple crazy tweets about that. She has never won a Grammy Award, which I also think is very bizarre. So she's had some industry issues and she has spoken out. But then she ruins her own argument by not only speaking out, but then making very outlandish statements about certain people and certain industries. So that's again, that is why we have to talk about this, Um, so this just didn't start with her getting on Turning Point USA. Let's rewind about a month ago when she made a tweet talking about the killing of Christians in Nigeria, which is happening. She's saying that it's being allowed by the government and how disturbing it is and it shouldn't be happening and so on and so forth. What she failed to mention, and what Ambassador Mike Waltz fails to mention, is that this is not the Nigerian government allowing for Christians to be persecuted in Nigeria. It is a Boko Haram issue. Boko Haram is a terrorist group who is killing Anybody who does not believe in their way. They are violent, they are crazy. If everybody remembers the Bring Back Our Girls movement from about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, maybe longer than that now, when Boko Haram kidnapped a whole group of little girls from their school, and there was a Bring Back Our Girls movement to bring those girls home. But none of this is mentioned. In her speech during the United Nations session, she just talked about how awful it is and how we need to support all Christians and standing with and praying for the brave young people of Nigeria who are on the front lines of the senseless violence. Your voice is being heard. The death of Christians or of anybody is awful. But why aren't we talking about why wasn't she informed of the actual issue causing the death? If you let her tell it and and Ambassador Mike Waltz tell it, you would think that, Christians are hated all over Nigeria. They're just being killed left, right, and sideways, and that Christianity is not allowed in Nigeria when that's not the case. The two main religions in Nigeria are Muslim and Christian. There is a lot of Nigerians are Christians. It's literally a 50-50 split. I am not making that up. That is a real fact. It is a 50-50 split almost. I want to say maybe 53%, Muslim and the other 47%, excuse me. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. The other 47% are for Christian. So the reframing of that whole situation is disturbing. But Nicki Minaj being somebody famous, being somebody blacks, being somebody who can help bring black liberals onto the conservative side, they're allowing her, and in this moment, with her speaking at the United Nations session, they're allowing her to say whatever she wants. So now let's fast forward, and she has continued to make tweets. She's gotten in issues with Gavin Newsom, which he's not really paying a ton of attention to her. He's kind of responding back to her, but he's not really bothered by it. The part that I think is really interesting is that she's making tweets about trans children and how you shouldn't want trans children, and how he's so worried about trans children instead of children being healthy and happy when a lot of her followers are a part of the LGBT community. They are. That's not me making that up. That's not a lie. That's not whatever. There are. There are a lot of trans teens and trans kids who are, who follow her, who love her music, and she speaks to them. And she used to be very, very strong supporter of the LGBT community. But now that she's become more Christian, I almost want to say she's become a little bit more Christian radicalized. She's a lot more anti-trans, it seems like. Again, with when it comes to her faith, that is her business. She is allowed to do that. She's allowed to have that opinion. But it is odd to go from having very supportive of the LGBT community to now being anti-trans kids. Let me just put this out there. Another thing that Nicki Minaj is misinformed about, and a lot of conservatives are misinformed about, is that all these kids are getting all these surgeries and all these things are happening when there are not surgeries happening on trans kids. Like, again, I'm a Republican. I do the research because that's what you need to do to have an open mind, to make sure you're saying stuff that is factual. Kids are not getting surgery. You cannot get transition surgery until you are 18. While you are going through that process, if that's something that you want to do, you are seeing multiple therapists, you are seeing multiple doctors, they're talking to your family, they're making sure that you understand this permanent situation if you're mentally ready to do so. And they want to make sure you don't have body dysmorphia or anything like that. There are kids whose parents allow them to take hormones. Do I feel that parents of trans kids should be allowing them to take hormones? No, I don't. I don't think they should. Bodies, little kids are weird. Teenagers are weird. They don't know who they are. They are figuring it out. Now, I think you should support your child however they choose to be, but when it comes to taking hormones or medications at under the age of 16, the answer is no. But if you want to grow your hair out long, if you want to buy those bell-bottom low-waisted jeans, if you're a boy and you want to wear if you're a trans boy and want to wear the binding sports bra to school and cut your hair, fine, whatever. But I don't want you to take medication. That is my standpoint on it. But I bring all that up to say that it's just a weird transition that she has taken. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen and let's take a look at her conversation with Erika Kirk at the Turning Point USA conference, AMFest.
You'll never understand what it feels like. That person is a human being. They have a family who has to read those lies. And that's not, and it's just not fair. Um,
I'm going to rewind it a little
but
bit.
this administration come back from it. But you do. And this, but he's given really has been put on your heart lately.
Here we go.
That's what I would say to Gavi Poo.
So, with regard to the current administration, what has been maybe the biggest surprise for you, or something that you just really has been put on your heart that you've learned about our president and our vice president?
Well, I have the utmost respect and admiration for our president. He has, I don't know if he even knows this, but he's given so many people hope that there's a chance to beat the bad guys and to win and to do it with your head held high and your integrity intact. He's from Queens, New York, like me. So, but what it's shown me personally is sometimes, you know, even in the worst feeling times in your life, you think that you're never gonna come back from it. But you do. And our president shows that. He's been through every single thing a person could be through publicly. Having to constantly be lied on. It's not really that funny. Until you are in that person's shoes that's being lied on, you'll never understand what it feels like. That person is a human being. They have a family who has to read those lies. And that's not, and it's just not fair. But this administration is full of people with heart and soul. And they make me proud of them. Our vice president, he makes me, well, I love both of them, but they're both powerful men, smart, strong.
I'm going to stop it right there. Let me just say that she did not feel this way about Donald Trump in 2015. She thought that him running for president was just going to be a fun reality show. She thought it was hilarious. She was totally against his immigration policy in 2016. She made multiple comments about that. So her saying now she loves him and she loves both of them is really interesting, given the fact that the immigration policy that he had then it was patty cake compared to the immigration policy that he has now. And again, if people are wondering what my thoughts on immigration, what he's doing to deport people, all people, that is not an immigration policy. I've said that multiple times. There needs to be an actual effort putting in immigration policy. Just deporting people, that's not a policy. It's just an empty threat, especially when we have people who are going to their immigration meetings and they're being arrested at a place where they're supposed to be and some have been going, faithfully and religiously for a couple of years. So
Style
oh, it's commercial. So
or
I don't
substance.
understand, how
Form
she
or function.
loves them both so much.
Somehow,
I
it
hate when
became
this
one
happens.
or the other.
Goodness. Okay, sorry for the video. The other thing she made a comment on is that Donald Trump gets through things with so much integrity. I have no idea what she's talking about. He gets through things with so much integrity. We have watched this man. Let's use Rob Reiner's recent death as an example. Rob Reiner was very, 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 very open about his dislike of Donald Trump and his policies. He never really said anything like violent against Trump, but he was very much anti-Trump at every step of the way. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Rob Reiner tragically is murdered by his own son, and Donald Trump comes out with a vitriolic tweet that basically said that Rob Reiner deserved it because he was mean to him. That's not integrity. And there's other worse tweets than that that Trump has said about people who he doesn't like, about women he doesn't like, about women of color. We have watched him talk to journalists, specifically female journalists, like they are garbage for asking a question, not even asking. One recent reporter asked about his thoughts on Venezuela and what's going on, and he called her stupid. So that she was so stupid. That's such a stupid question. How is it a stupid question? Another reporter on a plane asked him a question. He called her a piggy. How is this integrity? I understand if you're a fan of them, Nikki, for whatever reason, but let's talk factual about how they're handling things. I would have had more support. She said that Trump don't take no mess. He don't take no mess from anybody, and he doesn't have to because he's president, and they're ready really to get in the fight. But she's making it seem like the world is coming down on Trump and JD Vance for no reason, and they're just sitting there with a smile. We get it. We know you guys don't like us, but we're here for you. That is not what's happening. So let's just go into the next clip.
This way, but why do you think speaking your mind has become so controversial?
Because people know.
Courageous and bold on your campus. Nikki, I know our students feel this way, but why do you think speaking your mind has become so controversial?
Sorry about that jump.
Because people no longer are using their minds, their brains. So right now, just imagine we're not allowed to have a different opinion anymore. We're not allowed to think out loud anymore. We're not, this is not what the world used to feel like. And especially for the young people, I don't want them growing up in a world where they feel like that. I mean, they deserve for their voices to be heard. They have valid feelings and they're thinking about things, and it deserves attention. You know, we should listen to what they're saying. And if you're growing up in a world that tells you it's taboo to say something that the masses don't agree with, that's not okay. And we're not gonna have it. And I love this. You know, it's giving the younger people confidence that they will need later on in life. You guys will need it, and you will have it. So I'm rooting.
Part of this section I definitely agree with. We are at a point now where people are not allowed to have differing opinions, and it causes a lot of pain and issue and frustration and hatred and canceling. And I hate all of it. And she's right about that. But I think she's getting something confused. There's a difference between difference of opinion and outright hate speech. Like a Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes being able to say that he is a Nazi supporter, loved Hitler, all that kind of stuff, that should be canceled. I mean, if he was living in Germany, he'd probably be in jail because in Germany, if you say stuff like that, because they don't even acknowledge that part of history anymore because it was so awful, you are canceled. You can't get a job. You are thrown in jail. They don't talk about any of that stuff. I mean, when you are okay with people openly saying, you know, black people are lesser than, or we want to live far away from people of color and just have an all white community, that's borderline hate speech, you know. So you have to deal with the consequences of that. Now, if you are somebody sitting on the other side of the aisle or the other side of the room from me, you say you support Trump. I'm like, all right, cool. Why do I care? I don't care if you support Trump or not. What I care about is how far into the MAGA movement you are. If you are so far into the MAGA movement that you, again, are sharing more of the Nick Fuentes thought process, or you're sharing the toxic side of the trad wife movement, because there is a toxic side of trad wife. There is. There's the fun trad wife and there's toxic side. If you're sharing all of that, if you're sharing more of the quiverful movement mindset, I can't we cannot be friends because your mindset is dangerous. And it's the same thing that is on the black side for me. If you are kind of like a Dr. Umar, I can't have a conversation with you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't. But if you're someone who is pro-black, if you're someone who's like, I'm white, I'm fine with it, I'm happy to be white, I really wish people would stop hurting, making me feel bad about being white, I can have a conversation with you and let you know it's okay to be white. Being white is fine. What we're trying to get the conservative movement and the alt-right to understand is that these things in the past happened, and we really would like you not to erase this history so that your children can learn about it and not have this happen again in the future. And have a more respect for the people of color who are sitting in their classroom, not just black people. Things that happened with, Asians when they came to America during World War II and how they were treated. Hispanics coming to America, how Mexicans helped build America. All these things need to be learned so that there's a respect for all races. Just like we are taught in school that we have to have some kind of reverence for white culture because they came to America. They so-called founded America. They didn't, but you know what I'm saying? Like they've done great things. They've contributed to American history, and we should all respect each other. So I get what she's saying, but we got to make sure there's a difference between spreading hate speech and just having a different of opinion. And I don't think she really understands the difference. But what she just said here, there's nothing really wrong with it. Let's go to the next clip.
This is something I know that's really important to you and on your heart. And I personally want to know what inspired you to speak out for the Christians that are being slaughtered in Nigeria.
Here we go.
Well, and that brings me back to our great president and this administration and our great country. That we take for granted that there, right now in this world, are people who cannot worship God as they please, where they please.
That is
We
not
take
true.
it for granted because we have it. We can't even imagine not having that right. But every time we pray and fellowship, we have to remember the people that are right now in this world hiding to pray and fellowship. And we have to pray for them. And first of all, Nigeria is a place I've always loved. Someone very dear to me, my pastor, is Nigerian. I have lots of Nigerian barbs. And so
Not anymore, you don't.
hearing that people are being kidnapped, and while they're in church, people are being kidnapped, people are being killed, brutalized, all because of their religion. And that should spark outrage in the great America.
The reason why it doesn't spark outrage in the great America is because there's a bigger piece of Boko Haram is not being, they're killing anybody who doesn't follow their way of life. That is what's actually happening in Nigeria. The Nigerian government is aware of this, of what is happening. Her statement that there are places in the world where you are not allowed to pray and fellowship and be Christian. There are very few places in the world where you cannot be Christian. Very few places. Christianity and Catholicism was spread across the world by men who were conquering countries, and taking over countries. Religion was thrown upon them. Christianity was thrown upon Native Americans. Christianity was brought to Africa when they came to the country and were what ended up being the slave trade. They brought Christianity as well. The same thing in India, the same thing in Spain, the same thing in Portugal. All these Christianity has been spread throughout the world. But the way she's talking about it, it's like the most persecuted religion on the planet, which it is not. So again, she is just so misinformed. My heart breaks for her because I feel like she is someone who wants to learn. She's in a place of maybe music is not top priority for her anymore, and she wants to learn more. She wants to experience more, but deep she's not getting having the right people around her to deep dive into education. And I am not saying her getting somebody on her side that's Democratic like Mark Lamont Hill is the right way to go. But what I feel like Nicki Minaj has the money to have a variety of people around her. Variety. She should have people if she wants to be friends with Erika Kirk, which I don't know Erika's education, she doesn't seem that educated to me. But if she wants to have, a conservative educator around her, a black, educator around her, a Jewish, a Hispanic, like all these people from these different walks of life, different political views, somebody Hindu, to really tutor her on the world in life, because maybe that's something Nicki Minaj also has been missing, is that she hasn't really gotten a chance to experience life. She has been famous for so long, and being famous like the way she is, you live in a bubble. She's trying to get out of that bubble and try something different. We see other celebrities do that. Remember when Harvard had that stupid business school they were letting every celebrity go into, and then all the celebrities were saying, "I'm a Harvard graduate." It's because they were trying to do something different, get out of the bubble. We have Kim Kardashian trying to be a lawyer, even though she's not doing that great a job of trying. But again, I wish she had more people around her who helped her break out of a bubble in a better way than what Turning Point is doing and the conservative movement is doing. Is just giving her more attention. They're not really educating her. They're just giving her attention and praising her and holding her up on this pedestal rather than, again, one more commercial house. Lord. Okay. Just gonna close it. Close the screen down. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, if she had to, she's getting a lot of attention to being put up on a pedestal. That feels like what is really endearing to her right now, that people are paying attention to her, loving on her, wanting her to be there, and it's putting her back in the spotlight in a different way rather than they're trying to educate her. So let's go to the last clip that I have, and then we'll just talk a little bit.
Today. And then also, since both of us have little boys, I would love for you to also talk about the male side of that question as well.
Okay, well, something that I've noticed recently is that for little girls, I think that no matter how you look, we should be trying to instill into them to be proud of how they look. Recently, in the media, it's almost been like a push to, it's not just making young black children feel proud of themselves, but it's almost like doing that and at the same time telling other children not to be proud of themselves. And I don't want any child feeling that way. If as black women, we felt that we were not being represented and not being admired for our beauty, if we felt like that as black women, why would we want to do that to other women? Amen. Why would we now need to make other people downplay their beauty so that we can feel, no, that's not how it works. I don't need someone with blonde hair and blue eyes to downplay their beauty because I know my beauty. Do you understand? It doesn't bother me that a woman feels and says that she's beautiful. Amen. Why shouldn't she feel that? Why have we gotten to a point where certain colors or certain kinds of people have to be afraid of loving themselves and loving the way they look?
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. She's talking about the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle controversy, where Sydney Sweeney, said Sydney Sweeney has good genes in that entire controversy. And let me just be very clear, that was not black women. That was liberal white women and bots. Black women, we did not care about that much about that Sydney Sweeney commercial. We didn't. I swear to God, the everyday black woman don't wear American Eagle jeans because you don't make jeans for our shape. So why would we care? And that's a fact. I could never get this butt and thighs into a pair of American Eagle jeans. So if she wants to say that she has good genes, whoop-de-doo for you. No one is telling white women that they can't be beautiful or any other ways that they can't be beautiful. I think the issue that liberal white women had with that, like, liberal white women have a lot of stuff is that it's not inclusive. It needs to be inclusive all the time. As Black people, none of us when we were younger were ever shopping at Hollister or American Eagle or Abercrombie. That was not for us. It just wasn't for us, so we didn't care. So, that whole controversy again, liberal women and bots. Let me be clear as we all women are beautiful in their own ways, in their own right. To me, as long as they are healthy, as long as we are not pushing the I guess nobody's really pushing body positivity anymore because everybody's on Ozempic, but I want all women to feel happy and sexy and beautiful, and that's fine. But again, this is another scenario where I feel like Nikki is going off what she saw on Twitter and using that to form her opinion, which a lot of people are doing right now, which is exhausting. They're not researching stuff on their own. They're only going off what they see on social media. So again, I am concerned for her, and I am concerned that a lot of people in that audience and conservatives are now boosting her up as the voice of Christians for several reasons. One, her husband is a registered sex offender. I'm not monetized, so I don't care, but her husband's a registered sex offender. Her brother is also doing time for the same kind of offenses, but for children. And her being boosted up because she definitely defends her husband. She actually told the accuser of her husband that she was a liar and that none of that ever happened. And the accuser has had to come out multiple times and say, this did happen to me. And the accuser actually went to the police when it happened. She didn't wait for this man to get married to Nicki Minaj. She had gone to the police after that had first happened years ago and told them that it had happened to her. And she has, tried to underplay her husband's abuses. She also tried to underplay her brother's abuses. So I am concerned that this woman is being held up as, again, black, representing black conservative women. She does not represent me. She doesn't represent black women like me. And I know there's just me. I feel like half the time it's just me, and I will continue to be just me. But she's in a different boat. And I hope she doesn't end up getting burned by what she is saying. Because the problem is that I know is that the black community is not forgiving when it comes to people who support Trump. They're not forgiving. They haven't been. I mean, look what happened to Omarosa. Omarosa went in to support Trump and was full blown supporting him. She ended up getting burned by Trump, tried to come out and say that he was crazy, and nobody cares. She is persona non grata in the black community, and she will remain that way. I'm trying to think if there's anybody. There's been a couple other people who are black and have come out and supported Trump and then took it back or said they had some issues and so on and so forth. And I hope this doesn't happen to her because she's an immense talent and it has meant a lot to female hip hop. I just wish she had the right people in her corner to say, cool that you feel that way, cool that you have that opinion, but let's just get all the information. Let's just all look at it and then let me know what your position is after you look at all of the information from the alt-right side to the right side to the middle to the left to the alt. Read all these articles about this one issue and then let me know where you come back at. So these are my thoughts. Drop in the comments. Let me know what you think about Nicki Minaj's, I don't want to say it's a 180 because she has had interesting opinions since COVID-19. She was an anti-vaxxer. So she's been kind of on the fringe for a little bit. So this is not as abrupt as it is as her turning more towards I don't know. I guess a lot of people, even people who were Democrats, were conspiracy theorists about the COVID-19 vaccine. So it's just interesting. Do your own research. Drop them in my comments. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great holiday. Just in case I don't post again. Bye.